my votes as a senator.
Judge Chatney, do you know who he is?
No.
Judge Chatney was just recommended to the Second Appeals Court. Judge Chatney interfered in the state prosecution of Michael Ross, a rapist and murderer who terrorized the shoreline. And he interjected himself into state court when he would try to have himself put to death. What's your opinion on that?
On what?
On Chatney.
Penalty or?
On Chatney being appointed to the Second Court of Appeals.
Well, I don't know. Where is he? He's in federal.
He's in federal court.
I don't know enough about the guy. I don't know what he did.
Well, Chris Dodd appointed him to the second.
Well, that probably is enough to oppose him, right there. Well, I'm sure he couldn't have been. He must have kidded.
What I'm concerned about, it seems to be slipping through the cracks here. This gentleman, interceded after being a private attorney, into a state's affair as a federal judge. And I'd like to see somebody take some stand on him being chastised for this.
Yeah, I'm against judicial activism. Where I want to see the judges, the Constitution was written to restrict the power of the federal government. That's what our judges should be doing, protecting us from all the unconstitutional things that the federal government does. But you know what? They don't. They give the federal government a blank check. If we had any decent judges, we wouldn't have to worry about health care. The whole thing is unconstitutional. It would just be struck down. But the judges are not enforcing the Constitution. Thomas Jefferson said we're going to bind up the government in the change of the Constitution. What change? They do whatever they want. I want to go back there and actually remind all the other senators that they take an oath to uphold the Constitution. There's not a single senator that honors it. I will. Yeah.
What is your feeling on term limits?
Well, as I said, I'm hoping I only have one term. But I don't like the idea of career politicians. I don't think our founders thought about that. I think the reason that congressmen run for office every 2 years is because they figured every 2 years there'd be another one. That's the whole reason to have them run so often, so there's a lot of turnover. Unfortunately, there's no turnover. I would like a citizen legislature. I don't want people going to Washington and spending their lives there. Because they take on an attitude that's very elitist. It's almost like they're royalty. They never have to live with the rules and the regulations and the taxes that they put on all of us. And they get this special privilege over there. I want them in the real world. I'd rather have people like myself who are in business and from different backgrounds go to Washington, serve for a few years, and then leave. And maybe if they didn't have all these perks, maybe if we didn't have congressional pensions, which I just assume get rid of, maybe if we didn't have health care benefits for our senators and congressmen, let them buy them on the open market, if we didn't give them all these privileges, maybe they wouldn't stay there so long. If we didn't make it so nice and easy for them to stay there, maybe they wouldn't want to be there. They'd have to go back to the private sector and earn a living. But I think we've made it too cozy for them. And I think the problem with these career politicians is that is their career. And they always want to get reelected. And unfortunately, what's right for the country is often bad at the polls. And so it prevents the government from doing the right thing because they're too concerned about getting reelected to ever do the right thing. But if we have people in there that don't care about getting reelected, that don't want to get reelected, that are there to serve their country, kind of like jury duty or going to the army, you're there for a while and then you're going to leave, then you're going to be able to do the right thing and you're going to think clearly. And so that's what I'm representing. And I'm hoping if I can get elected, that it can break the door down. Other people like me can run. Because I know from my own business, and I'm in the securities industry, which is so regulated. I'm dying with regulation. I can't even blow my nose without, getting approval from the government. They're running my business, and everything they do wastes time, wastes money. I got 7 employees. I'm about to hire an 8th. All they do is comply with rules and regulations. They are breathing down my neck, and it doesn't do my customers any good. My customers are protected by me. By my own desire as a businessman to maintain my brand, my reputation, my goodwill. Not necessarily that I'm a great guy and I'm a humanitarian, but just for my own self-interest. My business is me. It's my clients. It's my referrals. No one cares more about my clients than I do. I don't need some government bureaucrat telling me how to run my business for the benefit of my client. I know how to do that a lot better because I care about my clients a lot more than bureaucrats. What do they care if they get wiped out? That's why you have these things like a Bernie Madoff. If we didn't have all these rules and regulations, we wouldn't have all those things. I think the government creates more problems and they make us a lot less efficient. They screw up the economy. So we need people in government that know how much damage government does. so they think twice about these regulations. And people that understand, like I understand Wall Street. If I was in Congress and what's his name, Henry Paulson comes down and says we got to bail out AIG, we need to pass the TARP, I knew he was full of it, and I could have explained to the other senators exactly why he was wrong and why we didn't have to do that. But you got so many people up there that don't have a clue about economics, don't know anything about Wall Street. They just believe what these guys say, and they do it.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Schiff?
Okay.
One quick question. If you fall short of your Senate bid, will you help us elect one of the other candidates to the U.S. Senate?
By help, what do you mean by help? Will I vote for them? Will I campaign for them? Will I don't know.
Campaign,
I certainly don't want to see Dick Blumenthal in.
No, absolutely.
But my main problem is, if one of my opponents are elected, I don't know that anything is going to change in Washington. That's my problem. I mean, we've been electing Republicans, not necessarily from Connecticut, but they've elected them in other states. And, when they get in there, they act just like Democrats. And maybe they're well-intentioned, but I know how I'm going to act. I know that I'm different. So I think that the country is really at a pivotal point in its history where I need to be there. I mean, I wouldn't be, stepping aside. I have a pretty good job in the private sector. It's a hassle, and I don't want to have to schlep back and forth to Washington every week. But that's what I'm going to do. It's going to be a lot harder for me, and I think it's worth the effort because I think things are that grave right now. So I don't know what I would do, but I'm not going to be that optimistic that it's going to be much different if I'm not the senator, because I know what I'm going to do, and I just don't have confidence in what other people can do.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Anyway, if anybody wants to get more information on my campaign, I know we have some of this literature we passed out here. My campaign headquarters, you can come by and visit or talk to anybody if you want to volunteer. They're in Milford. And my website, there's a lot of information there, which is shiftforsenate.com. And of course, if you want to go back and, anybody can say they predicted stuff, you can go on the internet, YouTube, Peter Schiff, or Google, and there's thousands and thousands of videos, seminars I gave over the years, hundreds and hundreds of television interviews, a lot of stuff that I've written, a lot of articles, op-eds, stuff on everything under the sun. I've taken a position on everything, and unfortunately I've stepped on every third rail of politics you can possibly step on. But it's all there. So you can learn a lot about me if you have some free time and you have access to the internet.
Well, thank you very much.